Okay, so good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, depending on when you are. Welcome to weekly Friday morning webinar series by Stocker team. We're very glad to have you here. We do these webinars every week to as a get together of stock market investors to just have a conversation about different topics related to stock market investing and how to make better investment decisions. Today's topic are two things. One is a participant or user, Stockcard user question that came through from Alessandro B. I hope she's on the call. And she asked how to utilize the Stockcard service. So we will go through that question. I think this is a question that a lot of our newer users have, and I wanted to answer that question on this call. I also have my co-host, which I will introduce to you very soon, and both of us will show how each of us use Stockcard's tool to make our own decisions, so you can get a real answer to how you can use the Stockcard tool for to make your investment decisions. And then, as always, we have a Stockcard battle. This week we chose Mastercard versus Fiserv, and the reason I will tell you why we chose these things, but we'll get there soon. So if you have before we're getting started, if you have any questions, you could always type in the chat box if on the right hand of your screen. Getting started, if you have any questions, you could always type in the chat box if on the right hand of your screen if you're on PC, and if you are on a desktop on a mobile, it's on the bottom. There's a little chat icon bar that you can click and ask questions, and you can always obviously unmute yourself and jump in and ask your questions. Okay, let's get started. Let me introduce you to my co-host, Shama. I know you're on the call. Go ahead and say hi to the people on the call, and we get started.
Hi, Hoda, and hi, listeners. I'm Shama Patwardhan. I'm a senior financial analyst at Stockcard, and I've done my MS Finance, also completed CFA Level 1, and I'm the portfolio publisher for Emerging India Portfolio.
Thanks, Shama, for joining as always. And I've been a lifetime investor. I'm a blogger related to investing, and I'm also a podcast host, Renegade Investors Podcast. And I manage the primary portfolio on a stock card called the Roll with Our CEO portfolio, which is my actual live portfolio, personal portfolio that I manage for our family. And there's about 100 stocks in there, and I actively manage that and add and remove and edit and all that sort of stuff. So you could follow me Enroll with Our CEO portfolio. And of course, you could follow Shama's portfolio on Emerging India portfolio. All you need to do is just to go to stockcard.io/portfolio store, and you can follow Shama and get notifications on the stuff that she does with her own portfolio. Okay, so before we jump into today's topic, I want to congratulate everybody on the call, or the people who are listening to this call or webinar later on, because we are all, or you are all, part of a new movement, which we call the rise of do-it-yourself investment decisions. And the reason that's happening is that these days we all know there's tons of free information available online. We can all use the free information available online to make good investment decisions. There is apps like Robinhood or M1 Finance or Stash or tons of a myriad of different apps online or websites or tools online that you could make investment decisions and implement your investment decisions with no transaction fee or almost minimal transaction fee. And At the same time, there is a we're living this in this period of time that a lot of us, especially younger millennials and Gen Z's, the younger ones, we don't necessarily trust the brokerages and bankers, and we want to have some level of control together and create this movement of do-it-yourself investment decisions. Even if you're not investing in individual companies and only investing in funds and indices, you're still making investment decisions on your own, and that's just thanks to the emergence of technology and the lower fee tools out there. But that's the good side of this story. But the sad side of the story is that if our dads used to make bad, or dad or mothers used to make bad investment mistakes or bad investment decisions because of lack of information and very expensive tools that was available maybe 30, 40 years, it was understandable that they were making bad investment decisions. But unfortunately, these days, us, the younger people, also despite all those things we talked about, having access to a lot of tools and content for free and low cost or no fee brokerage tools, we're still making a lot of bad investment mistakes. And the reason behind that is the investment mistakes. And the reason behind that is that now we moved into this era of too much information available out there. Um, um, we all have, as I said, it's a good thing that we have access to a lot of information, but at the same time, it's a double-sided sword, I believe. We're making bad. We're this too much of information is creating a lot of confusion, and that's an enemy of making good investment decisions. And at the same time, regardless of having the tools available to have access to information, we're all emotional beings, we're all human beings, and one of the second enemy of making mistake free investment decisions is we all get emotional about our investments. Maybe we get too excited when it goes up, or we get too nervous when it goes down. So that's why we created stock card, um, to help everybody, all the do it yourself investment decisions, and do good research. And that's also a topic of our weekly webinar. We use this webinar to get together and make good investment decisions, do good quality research, and come to good high quality, portfolios and management of our money. So again, welcome to the webinar, and I hope you like and enjoy today's topics. Okay, so actually, before I jump in, Shama, do you want to add anything to this whole notion of good investment decision making and all that sort of stuff, or should we get started with it?
Yeah, no, the topic is obviously a current one, and everyone needs some help with making decisions and knowing if they're doing it the right way or not. So I think these kind of webinars would definitely guide younger generation knowing if they're doing it the right way or not. So I think these kind of webinars would definitely guide younger generation especially to find ways to make mistake free decisions.
Good. Yeah. Okay. Let's get started. Today's topic, the first topic, as I said, Alessandra B submitted a question. She's probably, I think she is one of our newer users on the stock card, and she asked how to best utilize the stock card service. So, Alessandra, thank you very much for your question. It's a really good question. And I want to show you how I use this stock card tool to make investment decisions myself. And then maybe Shama also can share one example of how she goes about choosing it, and that hopefully helps you get to know the tool better and start using it in a way that makes sense to you. Use a stock card is for three, or I think Shama does the same thing as well. Is to basically use a stock card for researching, and that research using a stock card tool allows me to save a lot of time. And then I also use a stock card to discover new investment ideas. So let me go through each of them one by one. So researching, right? The number one way, let me go on Stockard and just actually live show you. So think about something happens, like you're reading the news, and then there's a news about Tesla. I guess Tesla these days is in the news a lot. So there's a news about Tesla, and you're wondering whether the stock price is going down significantly, and you're wondering whether Tesla is a good investment and should you jump in if you already own the Tesla stock, whether you should go ahead and sell it. So there's these questions that come up as you do your daily you're going about your life, and then I usually come in on the stock card and look for that company that already news about it. So in this case it was Tesla, so just search for Tesla, and then it takes me to stock card for that company. And what it does, what you can see on a stock card for that company is that more than hundreds of different data points and information is being automatically collected and visualized within this stock card. So you don't need to that's where we talk about researching, right? You don't need to go and search what's going on with Tesla, or like go read animal report of Tesla, or look on Yahoo Finance or elsewhere to see what's going on with Tesla. You could just come on Tesla's website, Tesla's stock card, and we basically give you all the information. There's obviously a chart that shows how the price goes, but most importantly, you could read about market potential, strengths of operations of Tesla, past investment return of Tesla, and you could also take a look at the share price and see whether the company is overvalued, undervalued. These questions, these four buckets, are answers to the most common questions people ask about every company. That's why we included in the stock card. So let's say you're still wondering whether you should invest in Tesla or not, and let's say I read that news and I'm wondering whether I should invest in Tesla or not. Number one thing I do wondering whether I should invest in Tesla or not. Number one thing I do is whether this company, in this case Tesla, whether it's a well-managed company and whether it has a strong operation. So that's why I clicked that on company's strength. And there's a couple of things that are basically the main indicators of whether a company is operationally well managed. Leadership quality, the management quality is one of the most important one. Whether the company can continue to sell more of its product and services. If a company is trying to sell more of its product and services, it means it actually has some demand. Whether the company is profitable, this is the earning per share for that company, which is an indicator of company's profitability. What is the company doing in terms of cash? Just like a normal person, if you have too much debt and you don't have cash available, your operations is as a person, I guess your operations is fragile. Like if something happens, you probably are gonna have challenges. But you don't have enough cash available. If something goes wrong, that's going to be a big challenge for that company. So that's why when we're looking at operations of the company, you want to look at the cash. We look at whether the company has revenue from diverse sources of revenue, and that's why that's important, because if the company is only reliable on one source of revenue, if something goes wrong with that one source of revenue and it doesn't have any other one, then the company is going to be in deep trouble. So we always would look for companies that have multiple sources of revenue, and then you want to see whether the company has any sort of competitive advantage to be able to compete against other companies in that space, and combine all these things together. These are again most common information that people would want to gather about a company's operation in order to make good investment decision about that company. So in case of Tesla, I come here, I look at, let's say, leadership quality. It's a founder-led company. That's always good, because if it's a company is founder-led, it means that the founder's incentive is aligned with the growth of the company, and that's a good thing. But you could also look at other things about the company. For example, in case of Tesla, we have issues with management constantly changing. CFO of a company changed in the past 3 years. Some other management of the company keep changing. So about Tesla, beyond that it's a founder-led company, obviously by Elon Musk, there's not a lot of positive things about the quality of management for Tesla. So that could be already a concern. Company from a sales point of view is doing very well, so I can just gather that information. In terms of profitability, obviously everybody knows Tesla is in trouble when it comes to profitability, and as you see, these profitability indicators or data points are all negative, significantly negative. So that's an issue. So I'm think about it. I'm constantly thinking about whether I should invest in Tesla and what is going wrong with Tesla. So I'm now understanding that one of the things that is going wrong with Tesla is that it's not profitable. And then there's wrong with Tesla is that it's not profitable. And then there's something wrong with the cache. The cache is kind of yellow, so it's not green or red, but it is yellow. So there's some concerns there. And if I want to click on it and see why, I realize that the company has significant amount of debt. So that's an issue, and the company doesn't generate any cash and continue to burn cash, I guess, or consume cash. And there's no information in terms of, there's no reliable, consistent growth of the cash available. So again, going back to the question of whether I should invest in Tesla or not, looks like Tesla has some concerns. We have some concerns with Tesla as it relates to its cash and debt. It is doing good in terms of revenue diversity and a competitive advantage. But so the thing that I just learned in less than 5 minutes is that the company has problem with profitability, and company has problem with leadership, and the company has problem with cash availability. So you see, without spending significant amount of time doing research, I just realized where the problem is for Tesla, and most likely that's the reason the company's stock prices just continues to go down, because those main things you need in order to invest in a company, which is a operationally strong company, doesn't exist for Tesla. And I see that the share price is questionable. There's a question on share price, and I want to go and see why that's happening. And when I click on the share price, I realize that there's a lot of unclarity around share price of Tesla, whether the company stock is overvalued or undervalued. We really don't have a lot of information. Obviously, if you look at the historical return of Tesla or share price of Tesla, sounds like the stock is undervalued, because based on the historical 3 years there's data, or the last 12 months sales, the price of Tesla, it looks like the stock is undervalued. But at the same time, if you want to look at the company's there is some other indicator that shows that the stock price of the company is overvalued. So if you see, that's why it's not all green and it's not all red. That's why there's a lot of unclarity whether the stock price, whether Tesla's shares were worth owning or investing. It's because of all these unclarity around share price and unclarity about the operational strengths of the company. So I want to go back to your question, and you ask, how would you use a stock cards service? So number one thing I do is that I use the stock card service to do research, right? As you saw, it took me less than 5 minutes, or about 5 minutes, to just evaluate what's going on with Tesla. And I want to say something about that. This bell icon on the top, and that also saves you a significant amount of time, because if you want to invest in a company and you want to, or maybe you're not ready to invest the company, let's say Tesla, but you want to be in the know in terms of when you need to pay attention to Tesla, the best thing you can do is just to click follow that company by clicking on that bell icon, and we will notify you when there is new information becomes available at Tesla. So you don't need to keep checking Tesla. The price may go up and down every day, but when you need to pay attention is when there's new information becomes available and something changes about Tesla. So that's the only time that you want to come back and see what's going on. And we basically just save the hassle of you keep monitoring Tesla by allowing you to follow this stock card and notifying you when there is new information becomes available to Tesla. So that's really the two big way that I personally use. Every time I have a company on my mind, I come here and investigate whether that company is something that I would want to invest in. And I also follow several stock cards in order to get notified when the new information becomes available. And maybe I want to pass it here to Shama, and Shama can talk about how she uses a stock card personally herself to do her research, and that might also give you another way of possibly looking at how to use a stock card for your own research. So, Shama, do you want to take over and talk about your process?
Yeah, sure. So maybe I could just share my screen here a bit.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Um,
Let
can
me
you see my
share
screen now?
everything up. Okay. I'm gonna.
Okay.
All right. Okay, we're seeing it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. So this is how I came across a couple of articles after there was news about new Indian government that was selected in for the second term in India. So I was reading the news and I came across this article that says how Modi government is planning, what are the plans for the second term, and how the budget is going to be, and all the details of what next 100 days would be about. So I was just going through these 5-10 points that they talked about, what Modi government has in mind promote and have protective measures for electronic payments. So basically India is trying to become cash light and they want to promote digital payments and electronic payments in India. So that made me think whether there are companies, even American companies, that are trying to capture this market in India, the digital transaction market. And that's why I started looking for companies that are interested in India. And I came across several articles that talked about Mastercard. So I checked few more details about it and what the plans are for Mastercard to, start uh, investing in India and capture this market and gain from the, because it's still not digitally equipped. So there's huge growth. Even now, there are people who depend totally on cash. So this growth is going to be very slow, but for sure. So I started looking for, I went to Stockcard and looked at Mastercard. And this is how I felt that it's a perfect fit for investment. Because if you see at market growth, there's like almost 13.5% growth for the next 5 years. And I'm sure that's going to continue to grow. Um, there has been customer growth for peer-to-peer payments. Um, the sales part was impressive. It has consistent growth in its sales, so that was a positive point for me. It has been profitable. It has been consistently profitable. One of the concerns that I had was its long-term debt, which is 1.17 times equity. But then I looked at other details here in the cash availability content that says that there's a lot of cash, there's a lot of the company generates, and it also has strong short-term assets. So being a still growing company, and because it's expanding its operations, it needs more money, and that's why they're trying to borrow money that increase the debt. But they, through that debt, they're trying to increase their cash flow, which is impressive. So that should not be a concern for investors in this company. um, they have provided the stock market return has been impressive compared to S&P. So over, when I look at the stock price right now, it is overvalued. It is in the overvalued range. But given the future plans of the company and what it's trying to do in India, how is it going to participate in this growing economy? I think this price it's trying to do in India, how is it going to participate in this growing economy? I think this price sort of justifies why there's a reason why it's growing. And if I have to invest, I would put some tiny amount of it in Mastercard right now, and then keep on buying at every dip, because this is going to be a long term investment for sure. And that's why I picked this stock for emerging my emerging India portfolio. So this was how I came up with and finalized my investment for today. So it kind of matches how you do it too. So I think this is how a stock card can be used to come up with a decision.
Nice. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
So
think that's a really good use case of explaining how would someone use a stock cards portfolio when it comes to investing. And I want to pick that up.
Yeah.
And thanks, Mama, for that explanation. I think that makes a lot of sense. I want to say something as well is that there's tons of companies obviously available on Stockcard. And let me share my screen again, that you could
Yeah.
use to make investment decisions, or like validate your investment decisions already. But there could be that you come across a company that you're interested in, but it's not available, right? So there's already hundreds and thousands of stock cards available on the stock card search page. So if you go on stock card search page, you can see hundreds of different companies available, or thousands of different companies are already available, and we keep adding new ones. But there might be that you come across a company and it's not available. So what you can do is you can basically go to a stock card request page. So you can access the request page by going to the footer and click on request the stock card, request a new stock card, and that's for the companies that is not available. So let me show you one example. For example, last week, one other user was looking for comparing, I guess, multiple different companies in financial sector, and she or he submitted a stock card request for a company called Fiserv. So basically, she came here or he came here and looked for that company and insert it, and then you can click on it and submit a question if it's not a submitted request that is not available. And our team, our tool receives this request and collects all the information that is required and publishes that stock card for you, and then we will notify you by an email when the stock card becomes available. Usually it takes less than 24 hours to turn around. And if you are a paid VIP member, you could already you get prioritization, and your response gets answered very quickly. But anyways, if you're not a VIP member and you're in your free trial, let's say, period, or you're just using the tool for free for now, you could still submit that request and that get that stock card published for you. So this user that I'm talking about basically requested for a company called Fiserv, and that's a company we chose today to also take a look at it. So once the stock card got published, let's say for Fiserv, it's available on the stock card just the same as every other stock card, and you could basically start using it. So I think the process is the same. Again, as you're validating your investment research or as you're researching for different companies, just it's actually a very interesting company because you see there's so much green, and see how different this one is compared to not Mastercard, Tesla, that we reviewed a little bit while ago. um, this
Yeah.
company has a strong operation. It's already green, and market potential is really good, and even the investment return in the past couple of years has been positive. So if you go and click, let's say, on investment return and click on that, you see the company has been, past 10 years, it's been overperforming the S&P 500, which is the average of the market. It's been doing the same thing past 5 years, doing the same thing past 3 years, doing the same thing for the past 1 year. And it's been doing at the same time, it's been almost like tracking the market in the past year. So the investors in this company is been doing very well. And then when you look at the company, so that's good news. But then when you look at the company's operation, and you see it is operationally is also very strong. It has a relatively good leadership quality. Sales growth are not maybe significantly high, but it's also not bad. I mean, it's about 2% growth, and it's expected to grow by 6% this year. So that's good news. Company is already profitable, makes a lot of money, and from a cash availability point of view, it has a lot of cash. It does have a lot of debt, but at the same time, it generates more than $1 billion, $1.1 billion. This is in millions, so 1,172. So that's almost $1.2 billion in free cash flow. So it's already, after removing all the costs and things that it needs for running its operation, it still generate cash, which is always what you would want to see. So for those reasons, you probably expect this company to continue to grow. just to grow, just the same as how it's been creating good investment return for the past 10 years and 5 years and 3 years. There's no reason to really believe this company cannot continue to do that growth. And then one thing you could do is that if you could sign up or subscribe to a stock cards VIP tool or subscription, then you could also see additional qualitative commentary. So you could validate the information based on what you see on the stock card, and that's available even if you are a forever free user, stock card starter, you could continue to have access to that information. But if you need more color and you need more qualitative analysis on top of a company, you could subscribe for stock card VIP, and the stock card VIP have access to this stock card team decision editorial or commentary section. And once you subscribe that, you could always click on that and read what our team, thinks. It could be I write these things sometimes, and sometimes Shama writes, and sometimes other portfolio publishers on the stock cards write these things. So you would see a qualitative commentary about what's going on and what we do with our own money using the stock card information from an investment point of view. So there's obviously, again, you could follow that company by clicking on that bell icon, and then when there's new information becomes available. But I want to go back to what I showed you at the beginning in terms of how you would use a stock card for your research. We just showed you two examples of researching in less than 5 minutes. You could collect all the information you require to make an investment decision. You could follow companies to pay attention to know when you need to pay attention to those companies without you needing to check these things every day. And you could also look for we didn't talk about the discover part of this stock card, but I guess maybe Shama, that's something that we could cover in the next weekly webinar, if that makes sense, because it needs its own attention, I guess.
Yeah, that
Thank you again. I just want to wrap up the call by saying, obviously, this is not an investment advice. We talked about we are in this age of rise of the do-it-yourself investors out there, and this is not an investment advice by any means. So we're all here in charge of our own investment decisions, and we share with you what we do with our own with our own money. And I hope that you could also follow. You could also use this information to make your own investment decisions. If there is any question, you could please reach out to us on our Facebook group, Intelligent Stock Market Investors. We run a weekly podcast called Renegade Investors. We run a blog. We write about our investment decisions and how we use the stock card on blog.stockcard.io. And obviously, make sure to continue to use our product on stockcard.io. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And I hope to see you soon. Thanks, Shama.